I've seen people lose deals because they just want to spray foam on everything or they just want to coat everything. A lot of guys just do not create those relationships. They want the money now. They want the money. They want to do the job this year. And there's a in what I do, it's a long game. They know they're going to pay me a premium, but they know they can depend on me, and they've turned other roofers away.
So I guess a big one that you and I were actually talking about yesterday too, and that he suggested is so he said to possibly dive into why most companies are not as profitable as they would like to be, and like they're doing revenue versus profit, and I guess how you go about maximizing your profits.
Well, that's a great question because I think a lot of guys, even like myself, a number of years ago, I was in the bidding mindset where I thought, hey, I if this other guy's at 23,000, I've got to be at 21,000, and we get these ideas in our mind that we've got to be X amount of numbers below the competition or um our competitor. And my one of my mentors from Montana started telling me, hey, you should be bidding that higher. And I'm like, well, I don't want to lose the job, and kind of sounds like an obvious conversation, right? Like if you bid higher, you're going to lose a job. But really, he started teaching me like it boils down to relationship. If if you start grooming a relationship, even from the very onset of a lead, like let's just say you get a lead and it's for repair, and you're like, it's just you could think about it like they just want a little repair. It's going to be what, $1,500, $2,000, and you start thinking like it's a small deal. It's a small deal. But they could have a 50,000, 100,000 square foot roof. It could potentially be a $500,000 deal. But it's starting off with the $1,000 repair. And a lot of guys, they want to try to sell that big job. Even if they don't try to sell it, they kind of give off the inclination, or they kind of give off the vibe to the building owner that they're only doing this repair because they're after the big job. Either the roofer salesman is pressuring them, or they keep asking questions about the bigger job. And you know, if you're trying to create a relationship, think of other parts in our life where we're trying to create a relationship, right? Like you're dating a girl and you're trying to win her over to marry her, right? Or maybe you've already married the girl, but you're trying to create that relationship with the father-in-law. Or you just landed a new job, you're trying to create that relationship with the boss, so you're not going to be like pushing the envelope. When you're dating a girl, you're not going to be right away talking about some of the things you would be talking about, down the road and everything. You're not going to be asking about how many kids do you want. And I mean, I know some people do, but like on the first date, you're going to be saving them questions and talking about the bigger stuff later. And so, really, when I meet with a building owner, I start talking about what they asked me about the repair. And if they start saying, well, what's the condition of the rest of the roof? And I said, well, I can write out a report, do an inspection for you, but it's you don't want to put too much gas on the pedal and just go after the whole enchilada unless they give you the idea that that's what they want. Okay. So there's got to be some give and take there. And it's you just don't want to scare away the customer by pressuring them too much. And so I've found that by cultivating those relationships, and that's really you've really, really got to hone in those two words, cultivating relationships. Okay. Um, Cultivating is a really special word there because when you say cultivating, it's a farming word, right? Like you're turning the ground over, you're cultivating it. And that's really what we're doing. We're creating relationship as the yin and the yang, taking little bits of information that the building owner is giving to me and saying, okay, it's appropriate to ask this question now, but this other question, it's probably too soon. You know, maybe on the next time we can talk about some of the other stuff. So there's been jobs that I've done repairs on for 3, 4, 6, 7 years. And then I finally said to the building owner, hey, this roof is beyond repair anymore. It's gone. And we're gonna need to talk about full replacement or the full roof project. And then it's a lot more accepting at that time, right? So sorry, it's a long-winded answer to a question, but lot of guys just do not create those relationships. They want the money now. They want the money. They want to do the job this year. And there's a in what I do, it's a long game. Okay. And there's a lot of difference between bidding jobs for a GC or government projects or maybe for large entities, large corporations. But my specialty really is working with building owner occupied buildings where most of the time the building owner is working inside the building, or they at least have a close relationship and hands-on um, activities with the building. I'm not dealing with large committees and entities like, Costco or Walmart or Lowe's. All those are good jobs, but you got to go through a lot of hoops and jump over a lot of things to get those contracts. And when you're talking about relationships, a lot of those relationships, they're hard to keep intact and they break down having to go through all those channels. When I'm talking to Bill that owns this big building and he's owned that building for 30 years and he's ready to pass it on to his kids or something, it's easy for me to talk to straight to Bill about this building he has without all these other people in the middle. And so that's where we found our niche really is, and create those relationships. And then a beautiful thing happens. A beautiful thing happens. In fact, this has happened twice in the last 48 hours. They have another building, or they're buying another building, or they're moving their business, or they have another one already. And now they want me to look at that building. And guess what? They don't get competing bids. I'm the roofer.
Right.
And
Built
a
that
lot of
way.
guys are like, that's a completely foreign concept, right? Like, why wouldn't they get other bids? If they completely and wholeheartedly trust me to take care of their needs, always answer the phone call, get there in a timely manner, and keep their building dry, why do they need to call another roofer? So they call me, and I'm the roofer, and I charge a premium to be able to do that. Okay,
Got
and
you.
they know they're going to pay me a premium, but they know they can depend on me, and they've turned other roofers away. So that's a great thing when you create those relationships, and then that bleeds right back to having a higher profit margin and be more profitable on the jobs you do.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like it kind of boils down to the principle of you don't want to be the lowest price guy. It's going to be a race to the bottom. You're in it, you're building those relationships. And it also sounds like these Costco jobs, sure they can be profitable and everything, but it sounds like your principle is that you go for the relationship with the owner and depending on what level you're at, the owner of like ideally, the biggest organization that you can be in contact with. Like you're not going to go ahead and be in contact with the biggest like the top dog at Costco, right?
Right. Exactly.
And obviously they've got all these corporate hoops they got to jump through the whole structure, and then they've got probably like 10 guys submitting proposals and everything. But you're going ahead and you're building the relationships with the guys who are in a similar ballpark as to where you're at and who you actually have access to. Does that sound
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, another question I have then about that is how often does it generally take you to let's say a majority of them, you're kind of like building the repair, you're doing the repairs for a while, then you build a relationship. You said it could take up to 7 years potentially to go ahead and actually, replace the roof. How how long on average do you think it would take to actually get those done?
Typically the process where I get a lead on a repair and we make the repair, and then it leads to a bigger project is usually within it could be anywhere from 6 months to 6 years. I mean, I've had both at both ends of the spectrum. What was their intention when they called you? Were they looking for a full roof, or were they just looking for a repair? Now, a good salesman's going to know the right questions to ask and to the right person in the right scenario. But if they're just looking for a repair, then that's a different category than somebody that's like, I know I got an old roof, I know I need to repair, but we're not doing that right now. So you got to kind of find out what kind of customer you have on your hands. But generally, if it started out as a repair and they don't have an intention of doing their full replacement until down the road, I'm talking about probably 6 months to 2 years. So, but one little trick, I'll leave any listeners you have here with a little golden nugget that I'd say most roofing contractors do not do, and that is after I do a repair, I either wait for the next rainfall to go through their town or 2 weeks later, whichever comes first. I will call them up and say, "Hey, Joe, that repair that we did, back on the 7th of July, how's that holding out? Is it holding up?" And a lot of roofers don't want to make that call because they're pretty sure that it's probably going to leak again, and they don't want to deal with, uh, oh man, they paid me for the repair and it's leaking again, and I'd rather not have to deal with that kind of customer. That's just not taking responsibility for your work, right? But I look at it different. I look at it like, the repair that I did, it's a roof. Roofs are going to leak. And
Yeah.
so I think sometimes we think like, wow, we did a repair and if it does leak again, they're probably upset with me. But building owners know that, it's hard keeping Mother Nature out of your building. And so just because you didn't get it on the first try, they are just happy that you call them back and
Yeah.
you want to stay on top of the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
There's been times when I go back 4, 5, 6 times, and I'm building owner be like, "Man, what's going on? It's still leaking." And I'll be like, "You know what? This is a head scratcher to me too. I've been doing this a long time, and usually I can figure it out, but you know what? Um, I'm having a hard time figuring this one out." And just be honest with them.
Yeah.
A lot of roofers, their ego is too big to admit that, hey, I can't figure it out, but I'm going to stay on top of it.
Right.
And that might mean doing a water test to check in to see where that water's coming in at. Sometimes I've even brought another roofer in as a consultation and say, you know what, we've been here 5 or 6 times, can't figure it out. Let me see if Sam can come in. Let me see if Walter can come in and give a second pair of eyes on here. He might see something that I'm not seeing. And that just takes a little bit of humility to do that. But by doing it, the building owner's like, dang, Andy is committed to finding where this is leaking at. And then eventually you might just need to say, Mr. Building Owner, we might just need to redo this whole section in order to find this problem. But just staying in communication and letting the building owner know that you're not giving up goes a long ways. And so, I always call back on my repairs, either after the next rain or a couple weeks later. And that has gotten me a lot of future work just by doing that.
Makes sense. So are you scheduling out like when you see that there's like a storm coming or something like that? Are you actually like going ahead, blocking some time off and scheduling a bunch of phone calls?
No, but you got to remember, I'm not dealing with 160, 180 customers a year like I used to.
Yeah,
I'm dealing with 25 or 30. And
got
when
you.
you're only dealing with 25 or 30 a year, I mean, if you add repairs into there, it might be like 45, 50. But when you're dealing with a small number like that, you can pretty much remember them. Like I mean, we use a program called AccuLink. So we have all of our comments in there every time we do a repair, every time we do a phone call or an email or anytime we touch the file, we make a comment in AccuLinks. And so we do have a message trail of what we've done there and what we're doing. And so, but most of it is just memory. Most of it is just like, man, it's been raining a lot down in South Haven. I know so and so's down there, so I'm going to call them and see how they're doing. So
Got you. Yeah. I think the few
I wish I
principles
was
out of that.
I wish I was that organized, but I'm not. People think that I'm so organized, but I'm actually a very not organized guy.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I I think I think most people in the roofing space can probably be in the same boat, you know.
Yep.
Organization isn't necessarily key at all times. It
I have a
helps,
good I
but
have a good my daughter is the office lady in the office and
yeah,
she does a great job of keeping us in line. So that's about all the structure we have.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's nice. It allows you to kind of, I don't know, be a little bit more fluid with your schedule and
Yep.
everything like that, and then she just brings it all together.
Yep.
Okay, it sounds like for that, you're just yeah, a lot of guys they just don't want to confront what could be potentially a headache or a harder conversation, but
Yep.
by doing that and cultivating those relationships, like you were saying, you're eliciting future work and potentially even right then and there that they might bring you in again and you know, have you repair it once again, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that sounds like a solid effort on that front. The
Yeah.
best way to go. Um, yes, a question then I've got is tell me when, let's say you've gone ahead, you've got this new client, they are actually interested in going ahead and getting the whole roof coated. It's time for replacement, right? And you go out, you give them a quote. they don't accept it then and there. What does the follow-up process look like?
So I've probably got about 30 clients in that bucket right now. I
Yeah.
live by the phrase kill them with kindness. I follow up, follow up, follow up, but try not to do any pressure. So like I have a large one in Pennsylvania, I've been trying to land for probably 5 months now. It actually got it off your Facebook ad program that we ran with you guys. I think it's like 140,000 square feet, but the timing isn't always right for when they're checking on pricing and I estimate it. And the timing may not always be right for them to get it done. And so they're actually going through some litigation. I think they acquired the property through a foreclosure or something. And so there's a lot of legal work involved and papers. And you know how fast lawyers work. I just call them up about once a month. And at first they were a little standoffish. Like the first couple months when I called them, they didn't respond very well, or their answers were short, or they kind of shoved me off a little bit. But the last 3 times I've called, they've been very responsive about, hey, thanks for calling us. Thanks for keeping in touch with us. And I've had people actually thank me a lot lately for, hey, thanks for following up and touching base with us, because I've been meaning to call you for a week, and I just got busy and I forgot. I like to think that the other 4 guys or other 3 guys that might have bid it, they might have given up after 3 months. They're on to other clients, and they don't want to follow up. So I like to think that if I can just outlast them, it's like the game of Survivor. If I can just outlast them and stick communicating with them without any much pressure, my follow-up calls kind of look like, I don't ever use the word, hey, I'm just checking in, or hey, I'm just following up. I just ask, have there been any developments in the roof project? That's how I talk to them. I just talk to them like I'm, already working on the project with them, and just ask them if there have been any
You jump
developments.
right into it. Like when you're calling them
Yep.
up, do you say, hey, developments, or do you kind of small talk first?
You just said jump on a call, but a lot of my clients, they prefer text. And
Right.
so we like to think that, man, I want to get them on the phone because that's the best way. Well, the times have changed. Okay. Times have
Yeah.
changed. There's a lot of people that don't want to call anymore. They want to text. And there's
Yeah.
people that don't want to text. They want to email. So right from the very outset of the lead, I determine which manner does my client want to communicate in. Do they want to communicate with phone, or they want to communicate with email? Or they want to communicate with text? Maybe they want to communicate through Messenger on Facebook. You actually have a particular way you like to communicate with people. Like, I mean, you use Slack, right? But then when we
Right.
got on this call, you want to use Zoom. There's 100 different apps out there and different things, and we gravitate to the one that we are comfortable with.
Right.
But the one we are comfortable with isn't necessarily the one our customers comfortable with. Okay.
Yeah.
My dad is 81. He's not in business anymore, but if he was in business, he would be on a phone call because he doesn't even know how to use an email or text.
Yeah.
I got other clients that are like, they prefer email because I can send links through it, and I can send pictures and other things through it. And so they prefer email because that's what they look at every day. I would say most of my clients like text. They text me, so I text them. And I try to keep it light, right? So I have a client that once again, I got off the Facebook ad that you guys ran up north of me a couple hours. I went and looked at the job. He wasn't available that day because he was running around. He owns multiple properties. I met with his brother, which was okay. I thought the guy was kind of shoving me off, but when I got home, I sent him all the email and the bid and everything. He didn't respond. I called him, and he picked up the phone, and I just said, hey, I just want to verify, or I wanted to confirm that you got the estimate. That's another thing that I do. It's call. What's the reason for you calling? It's not to follow up on the email, not to follow up on the estimate. My reason for calling is to confirm that the email address was right, and to confirm that you received it, and to confirm that you received all the information that you need.
Yeah.
You might not have received all the information. Maybe he needed a data sheet. Maybe he needed a brochure. Maybe he needed another document that he was looking for, or maybe that I promised and I didn't send it. So I'm calling to confirm that you got the email and all the information that you needed. And they'll say yes or no, and you have a little conversation. But this particular guy, he texted me back and said, hey, I'm awful busy right now. I've got another project that needs my immediate attention. And he sent me this picture on the text. Anytime a customer sends you a picture along with a message, you're on the right level with the relationship, okay?
A good sign.
And so he sent this picture of a really large sculpture that they were
Yeah.
building in town. And he was part of the building of this art piece. I was like, dang, that's really cool. At that point in time, it became me talking about him and his project that he was building and the structure and in town. And we stopped talking about the roof for a little while. Okay.
Just the
So I
relationship.
thought, Yep, I started building a relationship. I followed up with him every 7 to 8 days over the next 3 weeks. And then I happened to see the sculpture that he was building come across my newsfeed on another piece of, I know it kind of sounds like that's a coincidence, but it happened to come across my newsfeed. So I took a screenshot and I sent it to him. I said, "Hey, I seen your project on my newsfeed on another thing." And he goes, "Yeah, it's really cool. It turned out really well." And then he says, "By the way, I still need a roof done." I'm like, "Cool." I said, "Whenever you're ready, I'm ready."
Yeah.
That's all I said. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. No pressure. I'm pretty sure I'll land that project when he's ready. He's just not ready yet. There's another guy that in Conklin that says it a good way. He's like, I'm relentless on follow up, but I'm easy to get rid of. Okay. So that just means that I'm going to constantly follow up with you. But if there's ever a time when you're like, I don't need you, we already got the roof done, I'm not going to do the roof, then you just tell me, I'll stop calling you. But as long as you need a roof and I know I can help you, I'm going to keep following up with you and keep that relationship going. And another tip before we close on this subject is the biggest job that I landed this year, I got off of a tip off of a sales guy from a Facebook ad. So there's a Facebook ad. I think his name is Jeremy Miner. You ever seen any of the sales ads by Jeremy Miner?
Yeah, Devin's
And
gone through his course and everything.
he's the guy that comes out and he says, "Hey Bob, I'm just following up," and he goes, "Bleh." Then he's puking. I see his ad all the time. And he said, "Instead, say this. Hey Jim, I've tried to reach out to you a few times and I without any response. Where do we go from here? Dot 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 dot."
Yeah.
And I just happened to be dealing with this. It's a big warehouse for a FedEx warehouse. Again, I'd been building a relationship over 3 years. We've done multiple repairs. They already had given me the verbal that they were going to do the job, but the guy I was dealing with is not the owner. He's like the realtor guy that helps on a property. But the lady that owns it was in another state. Just hard to get them connected and everything. And he had kind of ghosted me for about, I don't know, 3 months. I
Mhm.
followed up 4 or 5 times and he had ghosted me. Finally, I used this phrase from Jeremy Miner. It says, where do we go from here? Dot 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 dot. He responded within an hour
Yeah.
and he says, "Hey Andy, I apologize. I've been really busy doing this and doing this, but this is what we're gonna do and we're moving forward." And it just jumped right back into that. And within a couple of weeks, we were closed on the deal with a $90,000 deposit in the bank. I was like, dang, I didn't even buy his course. I just
Yeah.
used sometimes I think as sales guys, we got to spend all this money and take this course, or we gotta find this magic thing, da da da. But really, it's all about implementation, right? Like,
That's
I don't
right.
know how many times we've gone to conferences or like you took a course and training and everything. That
Mhm.
all that stuff is good. Education is good. But if we don't implement it, how many times we brought all these brochures and stuff home from a conference and we set it in the corner and
Yeah.
we don't implement it? Like
Yeah.
we don't actually go in and say, you know what, I'm going to do what I was taught. I'm going to do this thing, this idea that I learned and actually do it and work on it. And
Right.
most people don't do that. They don't implement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot. There's a big thing too. It's the I guess you call it the analysis paralysis. I hear this a lot. I was into like real estate podcasts and stuff for a while there, and it's a big thing there. And then another thing Alex Hormozy's got, he's got this deal called like you can become a entrepreneur. You do all this research, all this learning, you go ahead and you read this book and you take this course and you watch this video and all this, but like if you're not actually implementing any of the things you're learning, then like you don't really have a basis to actually build off of. Like as far as sales goes, you could read 10,000 sales books, but the first time you do 100 cold calls or whatever it's going to be, that's when you're actually going to start to learn stuff. And then those books, it'll actually apply to what you've learned in the field. That's the
Oh yeah,
best bet. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
So it's just like it's taking small tips. Like I mean, you and I are gonna put together some more videos and stuff and have more chats and that kind of thing. But it's like even just taking one small lesson that you've learned and trying to implement that, and then going ahead and trying that out for a bit consistently, and then something else, and then see what will actually like up your game. That seems to be the most
Yep,
important thing.
yep,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree. I'll share another thing that I do to try to build relationships with people, and this might kind of sound odd, but um, I'm a I'm a devout Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, and so I don't put that into my marketing or any of my sales or anything like that. But I do look for windows of opportunity when people when a building owner's talking to me, and it just happened yesterday. Um, the guy was talking about, he had some damage to his roof, and he was going to have a little bit of a claim. And I can't remember what he talked about. Something about the storm came through, but God is in control. So, you know, he knows what's going on. And there's just a little nugget to know, okay, I know this guy's a believer and I'm a believer. And so that it gives me a window to go in and talk about, hey, you know, exactly what I said was, I tell people all the time, is it a good economy or is it a bad economy? And I say, well, I'm on God's economy. So it doesn't matter, doesn't matter who's in office. I'm on God's economy. And I know he's always got me in the right place. So that that is a window for me to kind of subliminally say to him, hey, you're a believer, I'm a believer, we're the same, we're similar. Okay. And that breeds trust, right? I know some guys, when they would say that, they'd be like, oh yeah, God is good. I mean, you can tell when another guy is like, he's a sales guy, he doesn't really know what to say in that situation, as far as, um is he a believer? And I'm not saying that to sell a job on 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 your beliefs, but people want to do business with other people that are like them and have similar beliefs and morals and ethics. And so when I said that to him, we started having a little bit of a conversation about, you know, church and ethics. In fact, the job I'm on right now, um, I never met the guy, but we both know similar people. And he basically hired me because he knows the church I go to, and he's like, hey, those are good people, and I know those people. And sometimes people give you a job just because they trust you, and they know that if you know the same people that I know, then you must be a good guy, and they trust you, and that means a lot, man.
Yeah. It kind of comes down to, I guess, the physical representation of that principle would be you're having a sales conference with somebody and you go ahead and you take your chair and you put it on the same side of the table as them. You're trying to
Yeah,
subliminally say, hey, I'm in the same group as you. This is where we have
yeah.
common ground. And so we're trying to overcome the same obstacle here. That's
And
really
the
cool.
opposite is true, right? You said across your table, it looks adversarial.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
like every sports event we watch is you're on the opposite side, and you're adversarial, and you're
Yeah.
competing with each other. And I can
And
see
what
how that
happens
would
when
be
there's high
true. Yeah.
stakes, like game 7 or whatever it is, there's high stakes. Half the time there's a riot after the game if your team
Yeah,
loses.
that's right.
Um, I saw on one of your Facebook posts recently. You've had some good Facebook posts on there, so I'll steer people towards you that are following us certainly. And it was when you're writing a quote, you try and tell a story. What do you mean
Mhm.
by that?
So it's really hard for me to explain that, because I've been doing this a long time, so I think it just kind of comes natural to me. But I've seen a lot of other people's estimates, and it just looks like information, information, information. When a building owner is looking at a estimate that they're potentially going to spend 100, $200,000 on, it's a big chunk of money. And so they've got to be able to look at it and say, okay, he understands my problem. He has the capability to fix my problem. He has a good solution. I understand the solution, and I trust the guy. You kind of have to have all of those. I think I'm missing one too in there somewhere, but like, he could say he understands my solution, or he understands my problem. He has a good solution. I understand the solution, but if he doesn't trust me, there's no deal. You could have all the other three right, you know, or you could have, he has a good solution. I understand the solution, and I trust him. But if I don't understand his problem, and he thinks, man, Andy doesn't understand my problem, he's still not going to give me the deal, right? Like, so I've seen people lose deals because they just want to spray foam on everything, or they just want to coat everything. And if the building owner is like, I can understand that but he doesn't understand the problem that I have. And so you've got to have all those things working for you, right? Um, but when I say story, that's the that's an actual word that a couple of my customers have used when they told me why they went with me, because they said my estimate told a story. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out what they mean by that. But when I send an estimate, I don't just send the estimate with the paper. So we all think, oh, when you send an estimate, we all have an idea what that means in our mind, right? Like the estimate, it has my letterhead at the top. And it says scope of work and the steps, right? Like step 1, 2, 3, we're going to wash, we're going to apply this, we're going to apply that, we're going to do this at this much thickness. And then maybe it has the warranty on there and the square footage, and then the number at the bottom, right? That's the estimate. But my estimate is more than that. My estimate includes what I call the proposal, but it also includes in the same email some product brochures, maybe some spec data. I'll include a roof report, which is off of iRoofing. It's just a 4-page report that shows the dimensions of the building and the elevations and the pitch and everything. And then there'll also be a roof key in there, which is basically like, if you have 7 sections on your roof, but we're only looking at 3 of the sections, it'll highlight the sections that we're going to do, or maybe we're going to do two different systems on the same roof, but we're going to do foam over here and only coating over here with no foam. And so that key will just break out, what we're going to do. That's included in there. And then I'll have a list of references in there, not just references, but references of people that have the same or very similar system as what I'm quoting in that job. And then there will also be several videos to the application that's specific to what we're doing there. So if it's a metal restoration system, we're going to send 3 videos, one for washing, one for prep work, whether it's seams or screws or whatever, and then the top coat. So we'll send 3 videos, and then um, there's something else I send to. It's like a roof summary or something. And so when you say build a story, it's like there's a whole bunch of information for them to digest and to look into and see. I think that's what they mean by me building a story.
So I was saying if I was a roofer or if I'm a client of yours and I open up that and I just see all these things, like that's quite a bit to digest. How do you walk that line and refrain from overwhelming people?
Well, in the very first sentence, I say something like, "Hey, Jim, thank you." I always say thank you at the beginning because you want to start off by like a humble heart and saying, "Thank." Everybody likes to hear thank you. So thank you
Yeah,
for either allowing us to present a proposal on this job, or if
yeah.
I met with somebody, like this last job we landed, I met with a guy named Mike on site. So I said, "Hey, Jim, thank you for letting me meet with Mike to walk the job on Thursday." Um, Mike and I walked the whole roof, and he answered all the questions that I had at the time.
Hmm.
Um, you know, kind of like I'd be talking to a friend of mine, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, and then and then I say, below you will see the estimate or the proposal attached, along with some other items, including a roof summary, a roof report, a roof key, some videos. So I kind of like summarize in that first paragraph what they're going to find down below. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, because we meet with building owners and maintenance managers all the time, and you'll find some people are very um glass over things really quick. They just want to see the big number. Then you get
Right.
other people that are very analytical, and they will read every letter, dot, punctuation point, every spec, every fine detail. And so you want to be able to summarize that in the first sentence so they can be like, okay, I know what's included down below and all those attachments. And here's the other thing too, is when I load those attachments, I make sure that they're titled right. So when
Hmm.
they show on the attachment, it doesn't just say Gerbil Garble XYZ JC7776 JPEG
Right.
or
Y-
whatever, because I know as me, when I'm looking at attachments, I'm like, I don't know what that is. You click on it and then it's a company's logo, right? Like people
Yeah.
have that kind of stuff. It's automatic. But I try to make sure that it's like, oh, okay, here. Oh, he mentioned the roof key. I want to be able to find that quick.
Yep.
And it might be later. It might be he already looked at the estimate 2 times, but now he wants to go show his boss, right? So he goes into the
Yep.
email and he's like, I want to find it quick because everybody wants it quick. You want him to be able to just find it quick and click on it and not have to fumble through your email and not figure out which one. Just make it easy for your customer to navigate.
Got you.
Yep.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
also on my video links, I use a lot of videos off YouTube. I have my own videos. I always in my email, I'll click a link or I don't know if you guys know how to do this, but you can share a link in the email, and
Hmm.
then when you go to put the link in, you can actually, instead of having the 85 characters long link there, you can actually
Yeah.
put a title there that says, "Oh, video of washing a foam roof," and
Right.
then
Right.
you guys, I just think a lot of roofers don't know that you can do that.
Yeah.
So when you're a customer and you're going down there, you're not going to know what the 85 character symbols are, what video that is, but you'll definitely click on the one that says video of us washing a foam roof. And so
That's
they'll
right.
click
Yeah.
on that.
Got
So
you.
I put those right in the email. And then I also put a little note there that says, if you'd like to explore our channel to look at what other applications we do, feel free to do that. You know, um, so I think I just kind of write the email like it's a message and I try to do it in more of a story form. Um, I had a customer call me a couple days ago. Everything looks great, everything looks good, but man, I just um I want to see a roof that is a foam roof that's over 15 years old. And I
Hmm.
said, well, the oldest one I have is 14 years old, and so I can show you some that are up to 14 years old, but in order to see one 15 years old, I'm going to have to call somebody in my network and give you a reference. And I said, is that fine? He said, yeah, that's fine. So um, we were able to, you know, I'm not sure. That just sprung to mind. I don't know if that even correlates to what we're talking about. But when I emailed him, I said, what's his name? Hey, Kelly. I said, I included the video below of the roofs that we have that are, you know, here's one that's similar to yours. It's 8 years old. Here's one that's similar to yours. That's 12 years old. Here's the first one we did 14 years ago. And here's his phone number. And then, I gave him the reference to my buddy's one that's 15 years old. That's in Pennsylvania. So I guess kind of what I'm saying is I gave him more than kind of what he was asking for. He was just asking for a reference of mine and then the other one for 15, but I actually sent him 4 references. Um, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to land that job here in the next day or two. But yeah, just under promise and over deliver, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, so kind of to summarize for now, because I'm sure we could go on forever here, but it seems like the main principles that you're kind of incorporating is you're always putting the client first, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's excellent customer service, and then it's over delivering. So when they're asking,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, like even in this last story here, they're asking for, just a reference, like, hey, this is what this looks like, and you give them four. All of a sudden, that kind of disarms them to a degree because they're looking for you to prove that you're, worth your salt. If you
Right.
hit them with four referrals, they probably only look at the first one anyway, and then they're just like, okay, well, I mean, obviously he's confident in what he's doing. So it's just, I guess it's yeah, coming with confidence, putting them first. You're not hungry for the jobs because obviously people can sense that. If you're gunning for the job right away, they won't trust you, and then you just sour the relationship from right then and there.
Yep.
Um, but if you want that long lasting, recurring revenue and
Yep.
like partnerships for a long time and a business that's bulletproof that's going to last, it's just about putting the relationships first and building on that. And then obviously the next step in that is, you got to provide an excellent product, but it, that seems to be the first step in the equation is just getting everything, building the relationships.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. You were thinking of a question to ask a little while ago, and when you're thinking of that, one popped in my head was people see what we do, and I mean we're niched down pretty good. We just do liquid applied systems, whether it's coating, restorations, or foam and coating. But
Right.
we're really niched down. We used to do shingles and metal and cedar shakes and metal shingles and luxury shingles and TPO and PVC and EPDM and um We even did a live roof once. But I see these guys, a lot of guys that are like, if it's roofing, we do it. If it's roofing, we do it. Blah 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 blah. And so I think it may be a good question to be like, how do I go in and have a sustainable business or a good business when we sell not only a specific product, but also one that's kind of hated in the marketplace. Spray foam gets a lot of hate. Coatings get a lot of hate. And I think that's because there's a lot of guys doing it wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. So, um, and I've said this in, I think, one of your other podcasts, and we've talked about this a little bit, but with foam and coatings, you're taking part of the manufacturing process out of the manufacturing plant and putting it in the hands of the roofers. So when you're making TPO and EPDM and PVC, any of those sheet goods, it goes through all these quality control processes at the manufacturer. It gets checked 100 times for quality control. And but when you're doing coatings, you're getting, I mean, you're not getting a raw product, but you are getting you're getting a liquid material that now you're going to put it on the roof, and you have to check, weather conditions. You got to check humidity and dew point and temperature. And you got to watch for mill thickness now. Uh, you've got to have cure times. You got to watch all these different things that you didn't really have to watch when you were just getting a sheet good and screwing it to the roof, whether it's
Right.
shingles or EPDM or metal. I mean, basically, you're taking a sheet good, throwing it on the roof, and fastening it somehow. But
Mhm.
with liquid applied application, you're taking part of that process and you're putting it in the hands of roofers, which, I'm matter of factly saying we're not exactly engineers, right? Like roofers, we're roofers. And so a lot of roofers think you can just take this bucket of stuff and just slop it on the roof and it's a system. It's a roof. But it's not. You have to adhere by some pretty strict protocols. You've got to watch your mill thickness. Every time I'm training a guy, they want to walk too fast. So I got to say, hey,
Mhm.
just slow down. We've got to make sure that we're putting enough millage on here. We got to make sure we're getting enough overlap on the last pass that we did. And if you're talking about spray foam, you got to make sure that the ratio is on right. And you guys know all about that. If you're off ratio a little bit, you're going to create a totally different surface, which is going to change your product. And so when I'm talking about going out in the marketplace, now I got another problem to deal with the building owner, because like TPO and PVC and shingles, I mean, they're kind of proven out in the marketplace. People know, like, hey, they work. When I talk to a building owner, I'm like, we're proposing a spray foam roof system on this. They're probably going to go do a little bit of research and find out there's a lot of hate on these systems, whether it's YouTube or a buddy they talked to and said, yeah, we had this. Another roofer that bid the job could say, that stuff's garbage. Don't do that. So I got to fight that, right? So I've got to be able to back that up by saying, it is a little bit different system, but here are the benefits. And here's why I chose to do this system, and I'm specific in installing this system. And that's why I back what I say up with videos and with literature and articles from, bigger companies like BASF and Texas A&M and Carlisle and Conklin. And so
Mhm.
by just arming these customers with all this information and giving them references and showing them videos, um, helps me to niche down and sell a job to a customer.
Okay. So it kind of sounds like you were implementing the principle Eminem implemented in 8 Mile. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the movie. So
I haven't watched it yet, but I've been wanting to. I've seen a lot of shorts from it.
yeah, so it's a good movie, honestly. It came out what, like 20 years ago now, but it's a
Mhm.
essentially he's a battle rapper, the whole thing, and he goes into the final battle and he's had all this stuff happen to him and he's against a guy who's, beat on him and, just like kind of ruined his life to a degree. He's gone, he's taken his girl. I don't want to spoil it for you, but
Oh,
the
I did.
principle
I did see that scene. I did see that
okay.
that final rap scene. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best part of the movie. I go back and watch that once in a while. But the principal essentially he goes in and he's up first on the microphone and he says he lists all the things that this guy could potentially use as ammo against him. He goes, and that sounds like that's kind of what you're doing. You're listing the bad things. Here's why this might get some hate in the marketplace. Here's some reasons why. So you list all that, and then you go ahead with your proposal. Here are the benefits, though, and you kind of list off
Yeah.
that. And so they've heard all the bad things, but if you, the guy who's selling it to them, is actually like, agreeing these are some of the low points, kind of the issues that can arise. If they're hearing that from you, and then you're going ahead and you're saying, but this, and this, they're going to trust you a lot more. Again, it comes back to that.
Yeah, you're disarming them really.
It's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's
But I
solid.
but I think but I think the great thing that we've noticed in our business, 'cause we're just a small family company, right? Like my son-in-law
Sure.
runs the crew. We generally have college kids that are out of college for the summer working for us on the roof. And I'm telling you, the stress from having to do all these other different systems, shingles and metal and all these different things. Um, Now we just do one thing. Like it's so chill. Like
Yeah.
I was just saying, like 2 days ago, all we did all day was lay base coat. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only thing we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, all day, all we did was top coat. Now
Mm-hmm.
they did go do a little repair when we were done because they ended early. But I told guys like when we did shingles, we had to deal with flashing and step flashing and side flashing and drip edge and ice and water shield and nails and pipe boots and ridge cap. Like on any given day, you could have to deal with 10 different components.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday we dealt with one component, top coat, all day.
That's
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
talk about easy peasy.
Yeah.
So, and and it was a small roof. I mean, if you get on a big roof, you could have like 4 days straight of top coat. Just like
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's brainless, but it's pretty simplistic. And the inventory in our shop, we used to carry anywhere from 25 to $30,000 of inventory on at our highest point in our shop with all of our shingles and stuff like that. Now we carry about 125,000 of inventory in our shop, and it's all coatings. It's
Yeah.
just and but instead of having 40 different items, now we have like six, maybe eight different items. We got our top coat, and we got our base coat, and we got our seam grade and our primer and our cleaner. But it's simplified what we do a lot more.
Yeah.
And not only does that simplify us for the headache, but when you're bringing a new guy, we just had a new guy start on Monday. You can catch him up on speed so fast because
Yeah.
he doesn't have very very many things to learn.
Yeah. I'm in the exact same boat as you. The niching down is absolutely the way to go. I mean, we specifically do marketing for you guys, right? And a
Yep.
very specific type of marketing. If you're productizing your service, you got this is what we do. I don't know. There's more efficiency. You can train your guys up, like you were saying. You only need to carry one product. You don't have to switch from okay, half the day I'm doing this. Now we're swapping over to this, and there's maybe even just mentally for the guys, there's like there's a swap. I don't know. It takes a bit to swap over, and then the
Yeah.
efficiency of actually like getting everything done. So I'm in the exact same boat as you. That's the way.
And I'll tell you what, a beautiful thing happens when you start doing it for a while. Now you get people that come to you and they say, "This is what I want," and I heard you're the only guy in the area that does it.
Yeah,
Or I've heard that you're the guy that you only do this, so you must be good at it if that's the only thing you
you're the
do.
best. That's right. And
And
and then
there's
you
no
get to
better
charge that
customer than
premium.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And because then you are the guy that does only this, so you are the best, and you get to charge higher. You don't, like
Yep.
you're saying, you charge a bit of a premium. You've built these relationships. You do this, and then because the thing is, when it's a race to the bottom, those companies they come, they underbid you, they underbid you, they underbid you, and they're out of business in 3, 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to have longevity and actually not run yourself into the ground, that's the way to do it.
100%.
Yeah. It reduces operational drag to kind of put a high level title on it.
Yep.
Uh, cool. Well, yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time here. We can, I'm sure we'll get together and we'll do a bunch more of these.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I appreciate your time with that. And is there anything that you were kind of curious or that you wanted to kind of put a final stamp on the meeting here?
No, but if there's people that are watching this video and they're like, here's a question I've always wanted to ask,
Yeah,
or, I'd say jump down in the comments and we will address any question you want to ask. I'm happy to address it,
absolutely.
you know, whether it's marketing or being profitable or estimating or, different systems. I'm not the guy that's done 20 different products, 20 different systems. We've only worked with like 3 manufacturers, so um, I'm never going to say I'm the expert. There's quite a few guys in the coating industry that, I mean, they're the experts. They know all
Mhm.
the right words to say, and I'm not that. I'm still learning new stuff every day, but we definitely have found what works best for our family, um, and is giving me a lot of freedom in what we do. And yeah, so put some questions down below. I'd be happy to answer them.